Oh, wait. So picture the scene. You step out your front door this morning, and the world has been color graded.
Oh.
It's red,
Yeah.
aggressively red. There are ribbons, balloons, and frankly, a suspicious amount of roses at the gas station. You know the drill. It's mid-February.
You do?
But while all the marketing is screaming, romance and passion,
Yeah.
inside your head, the monologue might be a little different.
Oh, absolutely. For a lot of people, it's not romance. It's logistics.
Logistics, yes.
Did I make the reservation? Is this card too much? Is it not enough? Or, if you're single, do I need to hide under a rock for 24 hours?
Performance anxiety.
Yeah.
And that is exactly where we're starting today. We have a fascinating set of source materials to unpack. It's a 3-part series from a channel called Daily English Dive.
Hosted by a duo, Sophie and Jack.
Exactly. And on the surface, this is a guide designed specifically for English learners, people at a pre-intermediate level.
Right.
But here's the thing. When you actually read through their breakdown of Valentine's Day, you realize they aren't just teaching vocabulary.
No, not at all. They're essentially decoding the architecture of human connection.
How so?
Well, when you have to explain a complex emotion to someone learning the language, you can't hide behind fancy metaphors. You have to strip it down to the core truth.
And that's our mission for this deep dive. We are going to take their learner's guide and flip it to see what it tells us about the psychology of why we celebrate, the toolkit of language you need to actually sound sincere. And some global traditions that honestly make the Western version look a bit boring.
I love that approach because we get so caught up in the commercial vibe that we forget what we're actually doing.
Speaking of vibe, let's start there. In the first part of the source, Jack, one of the hosts, mentions walking past a flower shop and getting hit by this red vibe.
Right. And Sophie defines vibe for the audience as the atmosphere or feeling of a place.
But immediately we hit a roadblock. Jack isn't excited about this vibe. He's nervous.
He is. And this brings us to what the source calls misconception number 1.
Okay.
We have this cultural script that says to do Valentine's Day correctly, you need to be a poet. You have to channel Shakespeare.
I feel that.
Jack is worried his English is too simple to express true love. He thinks he needs these big, complicated words to make it count.
I think even native speakers feel that. You stare at the blank card and you think, I need to write a sonnet, but you end up with, Happy Valentine's Day, love you.
And then you feel like a failure.
Yeah.
Exactly. But the source material is very firm on this, and it's backed by psychology. Sincerity beats complexity, every time.
Sincerity just means being honest and real.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And research actually shows that when we use overly flowery language, it can sometimes trigger a skepticism detector in the partner's brain.
It feels performed.
It feels performed. Simple language feels found.
So saying, I like being around you might actually land harder than you are the sun in my galaxy.
Especially if you don't normally talk like that. Yes. Precisely. It's about the intent, not the thesaurus.
That is a relief. But it does beg the question, why do we put ourselves through this pressure at all? If it's just about being sincere, we could do that on a Tuesday in August. Why this specific date? The source dives into the biology here, doesn't it?
It does. Sophie breaks it down to the chemical level.
Well,
we are talking about oxytocin.
The famous cuddle hormone.
Or the bonding hormone. It's the chemical that creates trust and safety. And here's the insight the source implies. Humans are procrastinators.
In what way?
We are social animals who need connection to survive, but life gets in the way. Work, stress, distractions. Valentine's Day acts as a social ritual.
A deadline for affection.
Exactly. A ritual is just a repeated action that marks significance. By participating, you are forcing a pause in the routine to say, this bond matters.
And that triggers the oxytocin release.
It does. It's a biological safety check for the relationship. It comforts the primal part of our brain that's asking, are we still okay?
So when you buy the card, you aren't just funding the greeting card industry.
No.
You're funding your own relationship security system.
In a way, yes. And since we are talking chemicals, we have to talk about chocolate.
Of course.
I always assumed chocolate was just the default gift, like socks for Christmas. It's just what you do.
It's lazy but delicious.
But there is actually a biological mechanism there. Sophie points out that chocolate contains compounds that trigger the release of dopamine.
That's the reward chemical.
That's the one. The same hit you get from checking off a to-do list or winning a video game.
So when you hand someone a box of chocolates, you're technically administering a mild psychoactive experience.
That's what it is. Sophie calls it a sweet gesture, but biologically you're saying, I want to associate my presence with a dopamine spike in your brain.
That is incredibly manipulative, and I love it. Here, have a chemical reward for tolerating me.
It's effective. It reinforces the bond.
But here's the friction point, and the source material addresses this head on.
Yeah.
What if you don't have a partner to ply with dopamine?
Right.
There is this idea that Valentine's Day is exclusive, that if you're single, you're basically banned from the party.
Which brings us to misconception number 2. The source argues that the day has evolved beyond romance. Sophie and Jack spent a good amount of time discussing Valentine's Day.
Which has really taken on a life of its own.
It has. February 13th. It started as a joke on the TV show Parks and Rec, but it became a genuine cultural phenomenon because it filled a void.
A dedicated ritual for female friendship.
Exactly. And for mixed groups or guys, the source suggests Palentine's Day.
Pal being the informal English term for friends.
Correct. It's a celebration of platonic love. That's a key term defined in the text love that is non-romantic. For siblings, parents, best friends.
And the biology of oxytocin doesn't care if you're kissing the person or just hugging them.
Not at all. Bonding is bonding.
So the vibe is chemically available to everyone, regardless of relationship status.
Right.
You just have to reframe the target audience.
That's the takeaway. Don't sit it out just because you don't have a date.
Okay, so we've established the biology in the guest list.
Yeah.
Now we have to navigate the minefield. And I mean literal hazards.
Uh-oh.
The section on symbolism in the source material actually made me wince because I have definitely come close to making the mistake Jack almost makes.
The yellow roses?
The yellow roses. In the source, Jack is about to buy yellow roses for a romantic date because they look cheerful, and Sophie basically tackles him to stop it.
It is a classic cultural trap. We tend to think flowers are just pretty things, but in English-speaking cultures, the color vocabulary is rigid. It's a code.
And if you don't know the code,
You can send a disastrous message.
okay, break the code for us.
Red is the heavy hitter, deep romantic love, passion. It's the I am serious about you color.
Right.
Pink is the lighter version, admiration, I like you, or, start of a relationship. White is usually purity or new beginnings.
And yellow. Why was Sophie so panicked about yellow?
Yellow is the danger zone. Yellow explicitly means friendship.
Ouch.
If you give yellow roses to someone you are trying to woo, you are physically handing them a friend zone notice.
You're sending a signal that says, I enjoy your company, but I do not want to see you naked.
That's a good way to put it, yes.
That is a tragedy waiting to happen. You think you're being nice, but you're actually breaking up with them before you've even started.
Exactly. So, stick to red or pink if you want to keep the romantic possibility alive.
Moving from flowers to words, the source material offers a vocabulary upgrade. And I actually think this is useful for native speakers who get stuck in a rut. We overuse the word nice.
We do. Nice is polite, but it's sterile. It's a bit cold. The source suggests swapping it for lovely.
Lovely.
Sophie describes it as a warm hug in a word. Think about the sound of it. Lovely. It implies warmth, beauty, and kindness.
I hope you have a lovely day. Hits the ear very differently than have a nice day.
It feels more intentional, doesn't it? Like you actually thought about it.
It does.
And for a professional context, say, for a coworker or a teacher, they suggest, wishing you a day full of love.
That's a safe middle ground.
It is. It acknowledges the vibe of the holiday, but keeps it general. It's inclusive of all those types of love we talked about. Warm without being intimate.
Now let's pivot to the psychology in part 2 of the series. They bring up Dr. Gary Chapman's work. You've almost certainly heard of this, but it's crucial. The 5 love languages.
It is fundamental. Sophie explains that these aren't literal languages, but modes of perception. How do you receive love?
Words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch.
Right. And the insight here isn't just knowing them, it's about the mismatch.
Yeah.
This connects back to that misconception that expensive equals best.
Oh, okay.
We often default to receiving gifts because it's the easiest problem to solve with money. You buy the diamond, you buy the watch.
But if your partner's primary language is quality time, that expensive gift might actually feel hollow.
Exactly. They didn't want the watch. They wanted you to put your phone away for 2 hours.
So a dedicated walk in the park creates more oxytocin for a quality time person than a $5,000 necklace.
That's it. It's a huge pressure release valve for your wallet. It's about alignment, not cost.
Alignment, I like that.
You have to speak the language the other person understands.
But let's say you do want to go out. You want to plan the classic date. In the source, Jack is sweating this part. He calls it date anxiety. He's worried about the mechanics of booking a restaurant.
And this is where the source provides a cool kit that is essentially a lesson in power dynamics. Jack starts the role play by saying, I want a table.
Which sounds, well, like a toddler. I want cookie.
It sounds demanding. To a native ear, I want can come off as aggressive or entitled. The source corrects this to I'd like to, or I'd like to make a reservation.
Softer.
It's cooperative. It signals, I am a polite participant in this transaction. They also cover specifics like requesting a window seat. The takeaway is that knowing the vocabulary gives you control.
You aren't just hoping for a good night, you're engineering it.
Exactly.
But what if you can't get a reservation? Or honestly, what if you're just broke? The source has a pivot for that, the cozy alternative.
This taps directly into the acts of service love language. Sophie defines cozy as warm, comfortable, and safe. She suggests a home-cooked meal with the phrase, let's have a cozy night in.
Which sounds infinitely better than a crowded restaurant to me.
And Sophie argues that in many cases, this is superior because of the primacy of effort.
Primacy of effort. That sounds official. Unpack that.
It's the psychological concept that we value effort more than raw financial output. This comes up when they discuss cards, too.
How so?
You can buy a $10 card that plays music and lights up, or you can fold a piece of paper and draw a stick figure. Sophie argues the stick figure wins.
Even if the drawing is objectively terrible.
Especially if the drawing is terrible, because when you make something, you are spending yourself, your time, and your vulnerability. That signals to the partner, I care enough to risk looking silly.
That is a massive bonding signal. So bad art is good for relationships. I can do that.
You can. They also suggest some text for these cards. Simple, powerful imagery. You brighten my day.
Like the sun, it's efficient.
Or, thank you for being you. That one is heavy. It validates the person's entire existence without needing a poem.
It says, I don't just love what you do for me. I love who you are.
Exactly.
Now, what about the middle ground? We've all been there, a new relationship or a really strong friendship, where saying I love you feels risky.
Too heavy. Too soon.
Yeah.
This is the Goldilocks zone of vocabulary. The source gives us 3 phrases. The first is, I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Psychologically, this is validation. It says, I see your efforts. I see your value. It prevents the other person from feeling taken for granted.
What's the next level up?
You mean a lot to me. This defines a relationship as high value. It tells them they aren't a background character in your life.
They're part of the main cast. And the third?
I'm grateful for you.
That sounds like abundance.
It is. It frames your life as being better simply because they exist in it. You can say that to a best friend, a parent, a partner, and it never sounds awkward.
It just sounds sincere.
Sincerity over poetry. We keep coming back to that. It's the anchor.
Okay, we've handled the date, the card, the conversation. Now I want to zoom out. Part 3 of the source material takes a global dive. This was the most surprising part for me.
Why's that?
Because I tend to think of Valentine's Day as this very rigid, Western, Hallmark invented holiday.
Yeah.
But the rest of the world has taken it and remixed it.
Completely. The traditions vary wildly. Japan, for instance, has a completely different structural approach to the chocolate.
Tell us about the obligation chocolate.
So in Japan, on February 14th, the flow of gifts is typically women to men. But there are categories. First, you have giri-choko.
Giri-choko.
Giri means obligation or duty. This is chocolate you give to your boss, your male colleagues, acquaintances. It is explicitly not romantic.
It's a social tax, a lubricant for social harmony.
It is. Imagine looking your boss in the eye and handing him a candy bar that literally translates to, I'm obligated to give this to you.
But everyone knows the code. It clears the air.
It removes the ambiguity. Then you have Honmei Choco. This is true feeling chocolate for the husband or the boyfriend.
And the men just sit there and eat.
Only for a month, because Japan values reciprocity. Exactly 1 month later, on March 14th, they celebrate White Day.
The return gift.
Right. Men have to give return gifts, often white chocolate or marshmallows, usually at a higher value than what they received.
It's an economic cycle of affection.
It is. But if you want a tradition that really flips the script, look at South Korea. They have Valentine's, they have White Day, and then they have Black Day.
Black Day. That sounds ominous.
It's actually kind of brilliant mental health management. It's on April 14th. It is specifically for everyone who didn't get any gifts in the previous 2 months.
The singles.
Yep. They get together, wear black, and eat jajangmyeon noodles with the black bean sauce.
Wait, I actually love that.
It's amazing. The source notes that this turns a sad, lonely feeling into a communal event. Instead of sitting at home feeling bad, you go out with your friends and eat delicious carbs.
You commiserate, but you do it together. It reframes lonely into solidarity.
Exactly. It takes the sting out of it.
And speaking of reframing, Brazil just ignores February 14th entirely.
They do. They celebrate Dia dos Namorados on June 12th. The practical reason, February is carnival season.
Right. You can't have a quiet, romantic candlelit dinner when there's a massive samba parade outside your window.
Not really, no. It just goes to show that love doesn't actually need a specific calendar date. The date is arbitrary. The feeling is universal.
But speaking of adaptations, Sophie, the expert in the source, brings up a very modern problem. We can't talk about Valentine's Day without talking about the phone in our pocket. Social comparison theory.
This is the heavy hitter for modern mental health. We all do it. You scroll through Instagram on February 14th, and what do you see?
The highlights, giant bouquets, rings, perfect 12-course dinners.
And everyone looks blissfully happy. Sophie warns against the social media thief. Comparison is the thief of joy. You are comparing your behind the scenes, your messy apartment, your budget, your arguments with someone else's highlight reel.
You don't see the fight they had in a car on the way to the restaurant.
You don't see the credit card debt financing that ring. You don't see the silence at the dinner table. A big gift does not equal big love.
So if you find yourself doom scrolling and feeling inadequate, the advice is to put the phone down.
Immediately. Touch grass, as they say. Engage with the real world, not the curated one.
But what if you really are alone? Not just not posting, but actually spending the day solo? The source has a term for this that I really like, the solo date.
Yes. This is about relabeling. Instead of loneliness, we call it self-compassion, treating yourself with the same kindness you'd treat a friend.
So taking yourself to the movies.
Or the ramen shop, or cooking that cozy meal just for you. The source suggests an affirmation. I am proud of myself because...
It sounds cheesy, I know, but it's grounding.
It is. It's about recognizing that you are the most constant relationship you will ever have in your life. If you can't enjoy a lovely evening with yourself, you're missing the point.
As we wrap up this deep dive, there was one final warning from the source material that I think saves a lot of relationships. They call it the mind-reading trap.
Oh, this is the killer. It's the expectation that if they really loved me, they would just know what I want.
I shouldn't have to tell them.
That is a recipe for disaster. Sophie is very clear. Clear communication is the solution. If you want Italian food, say, I'd really love Italian food.
Your partner is not a magician and they are not a psychic.
Exactly. Stop expecting telepathy. Start using your words.
So let's do a quick recap. We've covered the social ritual biology, the danger of yellow roses, the obligation of Diri Choco, and the power of the word lovely.
It really is a lovely word. I hope our listeners use it.
The final takeaway from the source seems to be about the meaningful gesture. Whether it's for a partner, a pal, or yourself, the cost doesn't matter. The effort does.
The dopamine hits the brain because of the connection, not the price tag. I think that's the perfect place to land.
I agree.
But here is a provocative thought to leave you with. We talked about the Japanese concept of giri choco obligation chocolate. It's explicit there. Everyone knows it's a duty.
Right. It's transparent.
But in the West, we pretend everything is honmei, true feeling. We pretend every card and dinner is pure romance. So ask yourself, how much of your Valentine's ritual is actually giri disguised as hane?
Are you doing it because you feel the love or because you feel the obligation? Wow. That is something to chew on while I eat my dopamine-filled chocolate. Are we just performing duty?
Just a thought. Something to consider as you navigate the holiday.
Well, thank you for that existential crisis to end our deep dive. And thanks to everyone for listening. Go forth, be sincere, use simple words, and for the love of everything, watch out for those yellow roses.
See you next time.